Oh my goodness. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is for you. I hope you're having a fantastic day. My name is Zach Schomler. This is Strong Opinion Sports, episode 689. Welcome in. Happy New Year. It's a weird week. It is 2:32 in the morning. I'm recording because I've got a great work-life balance. I just am so good at balancing so many things, and it's going great. It's Thursday night. I guess actually it's Friday morning, technically. We just had the Notre Dame-Georgia game hours ago now, like a long time ago now, but long enough time that I've watched it and kind of gone through it and everything. We've had the second round of the college football playoff. It was really interesting. By the way, I'm sure you know by now, no Nathan today. He's sick. And God bless him. Hope he's good. Not to throw shade. In my day, back in the day, I've recorded a couple episodes where I could barely talk. Hey, man, what about your flu game, Nathan? Where you at, dude? I want the Michael Jordan flu podcast where you're like, you can't even talk. You're like, I'm so sad Oregon lost. It's terrible. I know. It's it is disappointing though. We don't have Nathan on the day that it's the most interesting to hear from an Oregon Duck fan. It's kind of sad. And it was a weird weekend in football. I mean, I was going to wait till after the New Year's Day games because I thought, hey, let's record Wednesday night because NFL Week 17, it happened. There was a game or two that was interesting, but mostly the focus is college football this week. And I'm like, let's record Wednesday night. And then for reasons that I don't think I should say on in the first couple minutes of a YouTube video, we can get dinged especially heavily for saying the wrong keywords. So I'm not going to say any keywords related to what happened in a certain part of the world where a certain college football game is going to happen on Wednesday, but the game got delayed for sad reasons. And that definitely, the schedule has been so fun to try to figure out this week. It is what it is. Hope you had a great New Year. I really did. I want to talk about football, but before we do anything, it's playoff time, and it's now or never. Don't miss out on the last few weeks of football action with Prize Picks, the best place to win cash while watching the playoffs. You could turn something like $5 into $500, maybe even win up to 1,000 times your money. Prize Picks now offers MasterCard for quick and easy deposits into your account. So put your skills to the test in daily fantasy. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks are a great longtime sponsor of the show. We love them. Download the Prize Picks app. Again, use the code CLNS. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right. Let's talk about the college football playoff. I don't know what to make. Honestly, I don't know. I'm really proud of myself. I have totally disconnected from what social media has. I don't have social media on my phone. I've totally for personal reasons, just stepped away. I don't really participate on social media. God bless those of you out there that do it. So I don't know what the chatter is. Are people happy? Are people upset? I think it's a mixed bag. Certainly the college football playoff has defied all expectations. What I like about it is that you have no idea what's going to happen. It really does feel like the teams left. We've got Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas, and Penn State. Did not expect that was going to be the couple teams left at this point, to be honest. Especially the way the games went down. I believe Arizona State, Texas was going to be the worst game of round two. That was the best game. It came down to overtime. It was incredible. It was fun. Texas beat Arizona State 39-31 in double overtime. It was incredible. It was competitive. It was cool. It was fun. It was a great game. It was the best game by a mile. And I thought it was going to be the biggest blowout. College, the playoffs so far have defied all expectations. You just don't seem to be very easily able to predict what's going to happen. I thought Ohio State, Oregon was going to be the game of the weekend. The first time they played, it was a classic. It was fun. And yet Ohio State dominated Oregon. Final score was 41-21. It was 34-0 in the first half. 34-8 because Oregon got a touchdown on the final play of the first half. Like, this was not a close game at all. Oregon got dog walked. Like Nathan, the co-host of the show, would say, Oregon got dominated every way you possibly could. Jeremiah Smith, the Ohio State receiver, had an incredible game. 7 catches, 187 yards, 2 touchdowns. Will Howard, the Ohio State quarterback, I thought he had a really bad Penn State game. And people have criticized me. Will Howard didn't play bad in the Oregon game. I thought he did, but we can agree to disagree. Either way, Will Howard, when it's mattered in the playoffs, has really come alive and played great football. And he just got to respect it, tip of the cap. He's played 2 really great games in a row, the Ohio State quarterback. I think right now, look, I just went on a rant about how you can't really predict anything in this college football playoff. But right now, if I had to pick a favorite to win the national title, it would be Ohio State. I think they're the most capable. They're the most talented team left. Does that mean they have a bad game and lose? That could happen, absolutely. But I think Ohio State is the team I'm most comfortable putting my money behind if I was a betting man. Now, what's interesting about this college football playoff, every single team that got an extended bye has lost. Oregon, Arizona State, Georgia, and Boise State all got 3 weeks off, which I'm not going to lie to you, man. It felt like every team that had 3 weeks off had a really slow start. And the teams that got to host a playoff game, by the way, it's kind of weird. Every team that got 3 weeks off lost. So the 1 through 4 seed lost, didn't even win a game. The teams that hosted a playoff game seemed to get a boost. And I really think that the one flaw of this college football playoff is that the 5, 6, 7, and 8 seed got really a nice little moment to host a college football playoff game at their home stadium. Notre Dame Stadium, Ohio State Stadium. Why am I blanking on? Penn State hosted a game. Texas hosted a college football playoff game. It was really cool for them and good for them. But I feel like the teams 1 through 4, Oregon, Boise State, Arizona State, Georgia, kind of got penalized because they come out, they're not as fresh. They haven't played in as recent. It's been 3 weeks since I played a football game. Every other team that played last week came out looking a little more fresh, a little more prepared, a little more in football shape, whatever the right wording is there. They didn't start slow. The teams that had more time off did start slow. It makes you wonder. Like, I have been really careful to not be too critical of the college football playoff. I really want to be intentional about that. If I'm going to offer a criticism, let's be really thoughtful and not just throw stuff out there, because I think people hated 4 teams. People hated 2 teams. Now people hate 12 teams, it seems like. So no matter what happens in the college football playoff, someone's going to be mad about it somehow. I try to enjoy what I can. And like, again, the Arizona State-Texas game was a blast. I loved it. I had a fun time. That's all I want. And I like that I didn't really expect the outcomes we've gotten. So it's not all bad, but I think you could tweak a couple things. It makes me wonder, is 8 teams better? Because frankly, 9, 10, 11, and 12, those seeded teams didn't even compete in the first round. Now in the second round, I feel like the better teams that were 1 through 4 kind of got penalized. They didn't get a home playoff game. They had more time off. They came out slow. They got kind of whooped in the first half. In every game, it seemed like. It's not perfect, this college football playoff setting. I don't think you get rid of the 12 teams. I think college football doesn't want to do that because more games and more teams means more money, just frankly, like more opportunity to get ad revenue on TV. So we're not going to go backward, but we could tweak a couple things, personally, I think, to make it a little more interesting and maybe less time, maybe 2 weeks off instead of 3. And because I just, what's the benefit of getting a bye week if everyone technically gets a bye week? Because there's 2 weeks between the final game in college and the first round of the college football playoffs. Like, why even have, is there really a benefit? I think you get penalized taking 3 weeks off of football, to be honest. And it is interesting that every team that hosted a college football playoff game, the 5, 6, 7, and 8 seed, all won. Let's go through it, by the way. Number 5, Texas beat number 4, Arizona State, 39-31 in double overtime. Number 8, Oregon beat number 8, Ohio State beat number 1, Oregon, 41-21. Again, it was 34-0, basically at the end of the second half. Number 6, Penn State beat number 3, Boise State, 31-14, and number 7, Notre Dame beat number 2 Georgia 23-10. Worth noting, Georgia didn't have their quarterback Carson Beck, although I think they actually were fine without him. Carson Beck, not that impressive to me, not a big fan. And I thought the Georgia backup quarterback, Gunnar Stockton, had a really solid game. Had a fumble, but 20 for 32 passing, 234 yards, had a touchdown pass. It's kind of funny. Notre Dame's quarterback Riley Leonard threw for 90 yards, and he ran for 80. He was a leading rusher, 14 carries, 80 yards, had a touchdown pass. But the way Notre Dame won, 3 field goals, a kick return, and just really good play up front. And I think Notre Dame is a sneaky dark horse to win this national title. They're going to need help. They're going to need probably... I think, man, I don't know. I thought that Penn State's quarterback, as much as I don't like him, Drew Aller, had some really nice touchdowns early against Boise State that you're like, it's like an NFL level throw. Oh my gosh, I hate this kid, but he looks really good. What do we do with this information? It's really difficult. Like, it's frustrating when people that you don't believe in play well, and they're like, well, I got to admit, that was pretty awesome. He had like his bomb for a touchdown. I was like, it's like a Joe Flacco-esque throw right there. Oh my gosh, that looks like... It's amazing, actually. That's awesome. So it's hard to, like, I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this. I will say, I guess, that Ohio State, Texas is the matchup we're going to get in the third round. That's really interesting. And we're going to get Penn State, Notre Dame, another really interesting matchup. The two teams that are kind of most similar are playing each other. Penn State, Notre Dame are both really physical up front. They run the ball well. They take care of the football. They do a lot of little stuff right. And they're so good in the trenches. But I think Notre Dame, if they can beat Penn State, could take out a Texas. I think the favorite's got to be Ohio State. I thought it was disappointing and shocking, actually, that Texas had such a close game with Arizona State. Arizona State almost got them, man. There was a moment where I thought that game was over. There was like a touchdown that, I guess it was dropped. Actually, technically it was almost an interception, but there was a throw to the end zone that I'm like, oh my gosh, Arizona State just beat Texas. Oh my, it's over. I can't believe that. Didn't land, whatever, but Texas was a hair away from losing to Arizona State. So they might get steamrolled by Ohio State. But again, also it's week to week. Like, you just don't know what to expect in these games. The game is in Texas, so that's going to, I think, draw a home crowd for the Texas fan base. But man, I'm really, I don't know what you guys feel, right? And I don't know what the general consensus is. I'm sure a lot of people are complaining because people always complain about everything. It's like it never ends and no one's ever satisfied. I personally am really enjoying the college football playoff, to be honest. I like it. I'm a fan. It's unpredictable. I think there are tweaks you could make to make it better. Yes, 1,000%. Is it, again, weird that every team that got 3 weeks off came out sluggish and lost? It's certainly noteworthy, right? And hey, if you're one of the best 4 teams in the country, shouldn't you be rewarded with a home playoff game? So there are flaws in the setup, but ultimately, as a guy without a horse and without a dog in the fight, I don't care who wins and loses. I just want good football. It's been really fun, actually. And so that's maybe just my opinion, but that's kind of, it's my show. I tell you what I want. And I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think of the college football playoff so far? Don't just give me like average criticism. If you're going to write in with criticism or a thought-provoking thing, be thought-provoking, be thoughtful, give me something interesting, and share like a really thoughtful criticism. Don't just knee-jerk reaction. Oh, it's that. I don't want to hear that. If it's that tone, don't give it to me. But if you have a really thoughtful thing to share and like really deep criticism, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear what you would do differently and make tweaks. But don't just say Oregon got screwed. Like, dude, I'm not gonna entertain that. I want to share kind of a recap of what happened during NFL Week 17 for one specific team. I would consider myself a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. It was a fun year. We flirted with the idea of moving there, actually, which definitely swung me towards going to Pittsburgh. I think we're not going to move to Pittsburgh because I love my job and I make good money. I'm happy, actually. But we considered that. And I was like, wow, if I'm going to go to Pittsburgh, like, I'm going to be a Steelers fan, absolutely. So I just chose, I've never had a favorite team. I chose the Steelers this year. It's been really, really fun. But I said a couple weeks ago that, hey, the next 3 weeks for Pittsburgh are the biggest games of the year. They're playing Philly, Baltimore, and Kansas City back to back to back. They were 10-3 at the time. Some people, not me, but some people were saying they were a Super Bowl contender. I said, let's pump the brakes. Let's be really careful here. Let's see how the next 3 weeks go. And the next 3 weeks went badly for the Steelers. They went from 10-3 to 10-6. They lost to Philly 27-13. They lost to Baltimore 34-17. And they lost to Kansas City 29-10. And in all 3 games, their quarterback, Russell Wilson, got outperformed by the opposing quarterback, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, and Patrick Mahomes. And then also, we learned that defense can't carry them. Against great quarterbacks in a meaningful game, the Steelers' defense, as awesome and good as it is, they're not going to be the deciding factor. They're not going to carry the team to victory against a truly great offense or a truly great quarterback. So, just to be very crystal clear, I think I've said it a lot recently. The Pittsburgh Steelers, as much as I love this team, I love Mike Tomlin, I wanted Russell Wilson. He had that great game against against the Cincinnati Bengals where he was like, we saw a flash of Hall of Fame Russell Wilson again. I was like, whoa, could he do this every week? Nope, apparently not. Not at all. So I just want to acknowledge very clearly, Pittsburgh failed that 3-game stretch, that big test they had. They failed miserably, like horribly, worse than I thought it would be actually. And so Steelers, they're a playoff team, and they're not a Super Bowl team at all. They might win a playoff game. I think they could. I mean, they stole a game earlier this year against the Ravens where they kicked 6 field goals. Like, they could win a playoff game, but that's the farthest. That's the best possible outcome for this Pittsburgh Steelers team. I want to share Week 17, this past weekend in the NFL. Sunday Night Football gave us a really, really fun game. It was 2 rookie quarterbacks. Washington beat Atlanta 30-24 in overtime. And it's been a couple days now, but really what still sticks in my mind is just, I know they lost, but Falcons rookie quarterback Michael Penix Jr. made multiple big-time throws on 4th down to keep the drive alive and ultimately tie the game in the 4th quarter with less than 2 minutes left. He threw a touchdown on 4th down. Like, he just was balling. And it's impressive, man. It really is. I really tip the cap. I think that Atlanta, they brought in Kirk Cousins. They gave him a big contract saying, look, we're not going to be bad at quarterback. We refuse to do that. But also, as much as we love Kirk, we're still going to plan for our future. And they did that, and that has seemingly worked. We're 1 game in, really, but Michael Penix Jr., hell of a first start. I know they lost. It would have been legendary if he won that game, but what happened was I thought there was some poor clock management by Atlanta in the 4th quarter at the end. I thought they should have called a time. They had 2 timeouts, clock's running, and they didn't call a timeout. They let 30 seconds run off the clock. It was the coach should have just called a timeout. I'm looking at Kirk Cousins, the benched quarterback on the sideline. Like, you could tell he's like, it's not my place, but like, we should call a timeout. You could see it in his eyes. He's like, this is bad. And say what you want about Kirk, he probably calls a timeout at that moment, right? Just timeout. Let's talk about this. It's a rookie quarterback moment. It's a problem. It's not great. He also had a couple throws where, like, he had Kyle Pitts one-on-one, and he tries to throw like a perfect ball, which is great. But hey, what Kyle Pitts does well is go get jump balls. Same with Drake London. How about throw jump balls? I know it's not what Michael Penix Jr.'s ever had to do, but put it up in the air and let, Kyle Pitts go get the football like a rebounding basketball player. That's something I'd like to see from Michael Penix Jr. in the future, is throwing more jump ball opportunities to Drake London and especially Kyle Pitts. But Penix Jr. did everything he could to try to win, and Washington got the ball to start the 4th quarter, scored a touchdown. So Atlanta never even got the ball on offense in overtime at all. Washington got the ball to start overtime, scored a touchdown in overtime immediately. And so Atlanta never got a shot. They just never got the football. Michael Penix Jr. never saw the ball again after the 4th quarter ended. And I wonder if he'd gotten the ball first, would they have won? I think it's very possible, if not likely. So heck of a first start for the young rookie quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. in Atlanta. I feel like one of those times I said Michael Pittman. I don't know if that's true, but I feel like one of the times I went to say Michael Penix Jr., I definitely feel like I said Michael Pittman. If I did, it is what it is. It happens. You talk for enough hours in a row, you're going to say the wrong thing occasionally. Let's talk about NFL Week 18 coming up. We got to see the NFC South get resolved. It's going to be Atlanta or Tampa. Right now, Tampa's in the lead. We'll see what happens there. The Denver Broncos still have not secured a playoff spot. They're 9-8. The Dolphins are 8-8. The Bengals are 8-8. There's still a shot that the Broncos don't make a playoff game. They got to win. So in Week 18, the Denver Broncos play Kansas City in Denver. It's very possible Denver just, wins because Kansas City rests their starters. I mean, the Chiefs are 15-1. They might rest everyone. You never know. They do have a bye week, so maybe I really don't know. I probably would play my guys at least for a half because, as we learned from the college football playoff, too much time off is just not good. But you also can't get hurt in this game. That would be really bad. So I don't know how Kansas City is going to play it. I'm not sure. We'll find out from them. And also maybe the guys, you kind of probably talk to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, say, what do you guys want to do? Do you guys want a week off? And if they want a week off, let them rest, let them recharge, give them some time, I guess. You got to probably just communicate with their players there. But most of the games this weekend kind of suck. They're not very interesting. The best game by far this weekend is Sunday Night Football, Week 18. It's the battle for the number 1 seed in the NFC, also the battle for the NFC North. It's the Vikings at Detroit. And Detroit's defense has a ton of injuries, so there's certainly a shot here for the Vikings to win and beat Detroit. It's going to be, I've seen it billed in headlines as the best Week 18 game ever, the best game to end a season ever. That might be true, man. Both teams are 14-2. Both teams are incredible. I don't know what's going to happen at all. If you're going to, look, college football's got one more week till we see more games. The NFL mostly is pretty threadbare this weekend. If you're going to watch any football this weekend at all, please watch Sunday Night Football, Vikings at Lions. It's going to be really, really good television, and I can't wait, man. I think, next week's episode is probably going to be talking about this game and then kind of previewing the NFL playoffs and talking about what we expect to happen and who we expect to win and why and whatever. But I want to read a question from Patreon. Lucas writes in on Patreon. Lucas says, playoff picture is almost set. What do the Minnesota Football Vikings need to do to earn your respect? Is Sam Darnold your MVP? I think the Vikings have my respect. 14-2. Sam Darnold just had a career year or career week, week 17. They beat the Packers. I don't know, man. You know how they earn my respect? They win the division. If the Vikings are the number 1 seed and beat Detroit, in Detroit, by the way, week 18, you got to get out of the way and go, like, this might be a Super Bowl team, honestly. And here's the thing, man. Sam Darnold might be the MVP because they got rid of Kirk Cousins and got better. And Sam Darnold came out of nowhere and frankly has played outstanding football. And Coach of the Year has to. I don't know if this is really unanimous, but to me, Coach of the Year has to go to Kevin O'Connell. You fix Sam Darnold's career. You lose your rookie quarterback you drafted in the first round, J.J. McCarthy. You might be the number 1 seed in the NFL, in the NFC, excuse me. You're 14-2. Win your division potentially. No matter what happens in Week 18, Kevin O'Connell's my Coach of the Year, personally, the Vikings head coach. He's incredible. Is Sam Darnold MVP? Man, probably not, just because I don't think he's got the numbers, really. Like, he's 4th in passing yards. He is in touchdowns. He is 5th. Like, he's just not statistically high enough, really, probably to be considered. Because people want to see the guy at the top of the dang list. No one means valuable as in truly most valuable to their team. They mean, like, who's got the best storyline or who's got the best whatever. Like, most valuable player is a silly, award we give out that is more and more meaningless in my opinion. But Sam Darnold, dude, there's debate, by the way, whether Minnesota's going to bring back Sam Darnold next year. I don't know what debate there is. Sam Darnold is the Vikings quarterback now. You can't undo that. You maybe trade J.J. McCarthy, but you got to pay Sam and keep him. I don't think there's any question about that, actually. And it's weird to me that doesn't seem to be a given when you look around the media. It's like, why is anyone having this conversation? Could Sam Darnold play with Shane Steichen and the Colts? It's like, no. Minnesota's not going to let Sam Darnold walk out of their building. Are you kidding me? No way. It's not going to happen. So, yeah, I'm open to Sammy D being the MVP. I think you look at the jump the Vikings have taken with him and without Kirk, how much better the Vikings got without Kirk and with Sam Darnold. Like, to me, that's worthy of MVP consideration, but I think I'm probably alone in that unless you're a Vikings fan. All right, let's end the show. We already read one. Let's end the show with questions from Patreon. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/Zach Schaumler. Atticus wrote in with a question about Zach Schaumler talking. I'm not going to answer your question, Atticus. I love you, man. And I will say, Zach Schaumler talking is coming back. I've got a plan. You know, the Super Bowl is in February. Football season will end. And then I've got a plan for what to do next. I've got a lot of stuff. But for now, enjoy what is and what will be. So, Atticus, I acknowledged you. I appreciate you thinking about Zach Schaumler talking. That was the show I did that was not about sports. It was just about life. Me by myself, talking to the wall, basically. Sometimes interviewing people. I loved it. It was really fun. And I'd like to do it again. I feel emotionally charged to do that. But let's hear the question from Evan. I'm going in sequential order. Evan wrote in about HVAC, actually. Remember, I am the nerdy term is comfort consultant, which I hate. The other word is sales. I call it customer service. I build HVAC systems. I'm a salesman, but it's not, you have to design it. Because the thing is, if I sell something that doesn't work or is a bad experience for the user, I'm in big trouble. So like, it's not just sales, it's also understanding HVAC well enough to put together a thing for a house that makes sense. It really actually requires a lot more technical knowledge than I think I'm given credit for. And I think my technical knowledge is actually why I do well in HVAC sales. Anyway, Evan says, do you recommend or have experience with ductless mini splits as an option for about 2,400 square feet of space? Building a barn dominium with spray foam insulation. I was wondering if these would be a good option. I would ideally have multiple 3 to 4 spread across the space. The climate is North Texas, Dallas, but less humid. Highs in the hundreds and lows in the teens. We'll have a fireplace for those chilly days. Evan, I got a lot of feedback. First of all, I've worked with mini splits my entire HVAC career. I love them. They are usually, my favorite mini split brand is Mitsubishi. I think they're the best. They're also the best to work on if you have to like pull them out. Like the blower wheel, for example, on a Daikin mini split is like, it's like if you had to take the transmission out of a car to change the oil. It's insane the way they're laid out. The engineering of them is really frustrating design as a technician. And so I recommend Mitsubishi mini splits. They are a little more money, but you really do get what you pay for in the HVAC world. And you talk about using a fireplace for the chilly days. Do you mean gas? Do you mean wood burning? A fireplace is good. I would also recommend don't just get air conditioning mini splits, get a heat pump with mini splits. That way you can use electricity to heat your home as well, or your barn dominium. But mini splits are great. They are, if I was into any kind of building without ductwork, I would want mini splits. And even mini splits are better than some ductwork, to be honest, because mini splits are, they just create their own zones. They really evenly do stuff. I would probably go, if I was you with 2,400 square feet, depending on how tall the ceiling is, I would want probably a 3-ton heat pump with probably a 1-ton, which is 12,000 BTUs, another 1-ton unit, and then probably 2 6,000 BTU units. So probably a 4-head mini split system. You want a 4C Mitsubishi. It's a 4-head, 4-port system. You could also use a branch box, but you want probably 4 mini splits, 3 or 4. You could either do 3 1-tons, or I like the idea of, hey, your bigger spaces each have a 1-ton unit, and then put a 0.5-ton unit in two corners of the barn dominium. But man, I think I'm actually pretty good at my job, and most of my job is designing stuff. So feel free to reach out, Evan. I know you personally. You have my number. If I can be helpful, like I can't sell you anything in Texas, and I also would feel kind of uncomfortable, I think, selling to. I don't want to make money off this transaction, but if I can help you, give you good, thoughtful advice, please do. And I tell customers all the time, man, like I'll help you for free. I don't care if you go with me, but I want you to have a system that makes you happy. Because I just really care about people being satisfied. And for example, I did a job for a guy who, I won't say his name. We're going to watch a playoff game together, but we met through the podcast. And I think we put a filter box in his unit that I think he doesn't love. Because we gave him a better, like a higher end filter box that requires one that sits on rails. And it's a more specialized, more expensive filter. Looking back, I think he might have been happier with like a more basic filter, honestly, just like a box filter. And so I think about that a lot. It's really a lot of pressure to help people that, in everyday life, because you see them, and if anything's not perfect, like you just, I don't know, even strangers for me, like when I do a job for someone and it's not perfect, it really weighs on me and I want to correct it. And I'm luckily at a company where, I know I'm talking too long about this now, but I'm at a company where my boss is willing to lose a little money here and there so make a little less profit so that our customers are a lot more happy. And I think that's a really sustainable business model, is having happy customers. I'm in the business of people being satisfied with my work, because if I do a good job, people recommend me to other people. And that's all I really care about. Anyway, Evan, long story short, mini splits, great. Consider a heat pump. I would do probably, depending on ceiling height, 3 ton to 3.5 ton. Like a 3.5 ton is the biggest Mitsubishi mini split possible right now. I mean, guess at least for a what's called a hyperheat system. You want a hyperheat system because you want one that can go down to negative 13 degrees outdoor temperature. So I would recommend probably a P series hyperheat heat pump. And depending on ceiling height, 3.5 ton or 3 ton unit. And I recommend Mitsubishi mini splits. You're going to pay a lot for that, but it's going to be, it's going to last you 20 years. And if you do it right with the right company, you'll get a 12-year warranty, so you'll be fine. And it's going to be something you don't have hassles or have to worry about. And I think most people will pay a little more to not have to worry about it constantly breaking. Mark writes in. Mark says, Zach, question for you. We all know how much good sports can do. So we know how good sports can be, basically, and how powerful sports can be, whether playing or watching. I'm a firm believer that growing up playing sports can teach kids so many important life lessons. With that being said, is there anything about sports that you just don't like? Something you're not a fan of, if anything? A couple things I hate about sports. I hate drunk sports fans. I don't feel very comfortable in crowds, actually, at any kind of, even a high school football game. You have parents yelling horribly inappropriate things at like kids. And I'm like, I don't relate to the angry guy yelling at a game. I'm not a yeller. I'm actually a very quiet, private, introverted person, believe it or not. I know I don't like, and by the way, you get me in a room, I can light up a room. I really can talk if I'm comfortable. But in a crowd, at a concert, at a movie, at a sporting event, I am just an insular, little, quiet dude. I'm actually not little, really. I'm 5'11". I'm probably a normal dude. I made it sound like I'm 5'3" and a mouse. But I really don't like being center of attention with people I don't know. Being loud, being boisterous, drawing attention to myself. I'm never going to get drunk and yell, and I think it's sloppy and weird, and I find myself often not identifying with the average sports fan who just yells and is like, I just don't fit in that crowd. I really don't like it personally. I'm not comfortable in that environment. And then the other thing I think I just hate yelling. I hate sports dads. Often, hate is a strong word there. A lot of youth sports dads, like Pee Wee football, 8th grade football, Little League baseball, basketball, whatever, growing up, a lot of the dads are like really too invested. And the youth sport dad sometimes will care more than the kid does. And it's like so bad. It's bad for the kid. It's bad for everyone around the kid. It's bad for the team. It's all bad for so many reasons. And that's another really dark side of football and dark side of basketball and baseball and everything, is when you got a dad who's like forcing their kid to play and invest in the sport rather than letting them choose what they're interested in. I think it causes a rift in the relationship. It causes the kid to resent the sport. It makes the kid feel unsafe to pursue the things they're really interested in. It's all bad. And I don't know, man. I think, how do I say this nicely? I think men like need to step it up in a lot of ways. I think we're not great at what we do in America. Like I think male culture has a long way to go. And I think that in sports, how do I say this? Where it's often male dominated, you see a lot of just really bad behavior that is unfortunate and unhelpful and just not good. And so I tend to not identify with those parts of sports that I just find unappealing, uncomfortable, not fun to be around, not fun to observe, not fun to be a part of, like in a crowd of. Mostly it's angry yelling. I just like, hey, maybe control your emotions. Maybe like I don't yell or get mad almost ever. I'm not perfect, but I try to have really good control of my emotions. And it seems like a lot of sports fans, especially, have really, really poor control and poor emotional regulation. And it's just like not cool at all. Colin writes in, final one of the day. Colin says, hey, Zach, what's the most heartbreaking sports loss you can think of? Maybe a personal and objective pick. So what is the most heartbreaking sports loss you can think of? I've got two that come to mind. They're both in the Super Bowl. Number one, it's the 18-0 Patriots losing to the Giants. It is I remember when Tom Brady and the Patriots went 18-0, and you're like, dude, they're going to have a perfect season. And to have, frankly, the best year ever in the NFL. Statistically, like they did everything except win the Super Bowl. Went 16-0, broke tons of records throwing the football, doing everything, points, everything. And then they didn't finish and win in the Super Bowl. And that's heartbreaking and brutal. It really is to me. It's the ultimate incomplete mission in the NFL history. It's like, whoa, that sucks, man. Because I think they did that. Again, that Patriots team, I want to say, what year was it, man? Was it 07? I think the 07 Patriots. Let's double check. 07 Patriots. Yeah, the 2007 New England Patriots were the best team in NFL history, and then they just didn't finish the mission. And it's like that. They would be remembered so differently if they won that Super Bowl. They went 18-1. And it's like, we might see the Chiefs go 19-1, I guess, because they have an extra game now. They're 15-1 right now. We might see the Chiefs finish with one loss and win a Super Bowl, right? And they're not a better team than that Patriots team was. Not even close. That was the best team, I think, ever assembled in the NFL, and they didn't finish. And that's really sad to be remembered that way. But the other heartbreaking loss has to be the Russell Wilson interception in the end zone against the Patriots, actually, where they're on the goal line. You have Marshawn Lynch and Darrell Bevell, the Seahawks offensive coordinator, throws the football on the 1 yard line. It gets picked off by Malcolm Butler on a slant. And it was the ultimate unforced error. It was just such an avoidable, you hand that ball off, you win. It's so easy. And you lost the Super Bowl in the most memorable, awful way. Another game comes to mind. It's always just Patriots Super Bowls. I guess the Patriots did play in a ton of Super Bowls. It's the Falcons blowing that 28-3 lead. Although for some reason, I thought the comeback was kind of cool. I was rooting for them to come back, so I feel less bad about that. That's not as heartbreaking because it happened slowly and over time, where losing the way the Patriots did to the Giants sucks, but losing the way Seattle did to the Patriots on the 1 yard line with a guaranteed touchdown, if you just turn and hand the ball to Marshawn Lynch, but instead you have this unforced error, you throw an interception, that might be the most heartbreaking loss, to be honest. The Seahawks, I mean, man, that's a pretty bad one. It really is. I mean, that might be number one, honestly. It really is just crushingly bad. So yeah, those are what come to mind for me, the worst losses in NFL history. Guys, I know that was a short one, but that's really all I got. I love you. I appreciate you. Make sure you watch Sunday Night Football. Vikings at Detroit. Got to be the game of the week. Best game maybe to end a season ever. It's the last game of the year, but absolutely last game. It's the last game on Sunday, week 18, and it is going to be an unbelievable football game. Guys, I love you. That's all I got. And ba-dum-bum, bam, we are done.